The Galactic Sentry lock was a masterpiece of alien engineering. Its face, a sleek panel of polished chrome, was featureless, save for a single, perfectly circular keyhole. Within its core lay a symphony of quantum tumblers, subatomic pressure sensors, and kinetic resonance breakers. To open it, a specialist had to apply a specific pattern of force to align 27 internal mechanisms simultaneously. This was the final exam at the Interstellar Security Academy, and for Zephyr, a prodigy from the luminescent Xylosian race, it was merely an exercise in applied logic. Zephyr floated before the lock, his translucent body shimmering with concentration. He wasn't a being of brute force. He was a mind of pure data. His 10-fingered hands, each tipped with a fine sensor, manipulated a series of holographic projections. A laser probe, no thicker than a single hair, delicately probed the lock's interior, its signal feeding back a perfect 3D schematic. Zephyr's brain, a network of crystalline nodes, processed the data instantly. He saw the elegant, interwoven mechanism, a dance of light and energy that was designed to be unbreakable. For the past 3 cycles he had been attempting to crack the lock using every high-tech method available. He had applied micro-vibrations, thermal fluctuations, and even a targeted electromagnetic pulse. Each time, the lock's self-correcting systems reset, its internal tumblers snapping back into place with a chime of mocking perfection. Frustration, a feeling alien to his species, began to prick at his consciousness. This lock was not just an object, it was a philosophical statement, and he was failing to understand it. His partner for this exercise was a Terran named Liam. Humans, a relatively new species to the galactic stage, were a curiosity. They were beings of soft flesh and chaotic emotions, their technology a crude, often brutal mess of gears and wires. Liam, in particular, seemed to embody this chaos. He had spent the last 3 cycles leaning against the wall, chewing on a piece of Terran nutrient paste and watching Zephyr work. He offered no advice, no insights, just a quiet, patient presence. Zephyr sighed, a puff of luminous vapor escaping his chest cavity. The lock is a paradox, he projected telepathically to Liam. The sound, a low hum only the human's translator could pick up. It is a logical impossibility. The kinetic resonance breakers are shifting in an unpredictable pattern. I have no data with which to form a solution. Liam pushed himself off the wall, a calm, easy smile on his face. He walked over to the lock, not to offer assistance, but to look. He ran a hand over the perfectly smooth chrome panel, a stark contrast to Zephyr's delicate, non-contact approach. "Mind if I give it a shot?" Liam asked, his voice a casual, low rumble. Zephyr's form flickered with confusion. "With what? You have no tools." "My entire diagnostic suite has failed." Liam smiled, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a small, metallic object no bigger than his thumb. It was a crude, primitive thing, an asymmetrical piece of bent wire. "Don't need a diagnostic suite," he said, holding it up. "Just need this." The object was a paperclip, Zephyr's mind word, a paperclip, a device meant to hold flimsy sheets of Terran paper together. It was the most illogical, useless piece of equipment he could imagine for this task. He watched as Liam casually bent the simple wire into a crude, intricate shape. Zephyr's translucent body flickered with confusion. The very idea of using a paperclip, an object meant for fastening flimsy paper to defeat a lock, designed to withstand a laser probe, was a testament to the chaotic, illogical nature of Terran thought. He watched, along with the other alien students, as Liam crouched before the lock. Liam ignored Zephyr's diagnostic suite, the holographic schematics, and the complex data readouts. His only tools were his eyes, his ears, and the crude, bent piece of wire. The other students, beings of pure logic and data, began to project their telepathic thoughts, a chorus of silent, collective bemusement. "He is mocking the test. This is an act of defiance, a theatrical gesture. His actions are without purpose or data. It is a waste of time." Liam paid them no mind. He inserted the bent paperclip, which he had reshaped into a crude, 2-part tool, into the keyhole. To Zephyr's dismay, the delicate, non-contact approach of his own methods was being replaced by a physical violation of the lock's interior. Liam's hand wasn't still. It applied a tiny, barely perceptible amount of pressure, and his fingers, Zephyr noticed, were moving in a strange, intuitive dance. Not governed by any logical algorithm, Liam seemed to be listening, not to the readouts or the schematics, but to the lock itself. Zephyr activated his sensitive sonic receptors, attempting to understand what the Terran was hearing. He detected the low hum of the quantum tumblers, the faint energy of the resonance breakers, and the subtle, nearly inaudible clicks of the internal mechanisms. It was a cacophony of sound, a mechanical language that Zephyr understood only through data. But to Liam, it was a song. He wiggled the paperclip inside the lock, his face scrunched in concentration. He wasn't applying force. He was ... coaxing. His movements were a testament to chaotic, organic precision, a stark contrast to Zephyr's own elegant, sterile approach. Suddenly, a subtle, almost inaudible click echoed from within the lock. The sound was so faint that only Zephyr's highly sensitive sensors could have detected it. He reran his internal diagnostic. One of the 27 tumblers had moved. It wasn't a data-driven alignment, a planned success. It was a single, improbable click. Zephyr's mind reeled. He had spent hours applying complex energy patterns to achieve that same result, and the human had achieved it with a piece of bent wire. The other alien students didn't notice. They still saw a simple, meaningless gesture. But Zephyr saw it for what it was, an act of utterly illogical genius. Liam smiled, a tired, knowing expression. "That's one," he muttered to himself. He didn't look at Zephyr or the data screens. He simply adjusted his crude tool and continued the delicate, baffling dance inside the lock. Zephyr's holographic displays flickered. He tried to find a logical reason for the click, a flaw in the lock's design, an error in the manufacturing, but his data showed nothing. The lock was perfect. It was the human, the messy, illogical human, who had found a flaw in the concept of perfection itself. The single, almost imperceptible click resonated not just in the lock but in Zephyr's very core. It was an impossibility. His data-driven mind had no category for it. He frantically reran his diagnostics, projecting the data for the other alien students to see. The holographic schematic showed one of the 27 internal tumblers had rotated to its correct alignment. The impossible had happened. The other students, who had been murmuring their collective contempt, fell silent. They began their own frenetic analysis, their forms flickering with confusion. "The lock must be defective," one projected telepathically. "It is a flaw in the master design, or perhaps a lucky coincidence," another added. "It is a statistical anomaly." Liam, however, didn't seem to notice their silent panic. He simply adjusted his grip on the crude paperclip. He twisted the wire again, reshaping the tiny hook at the end, a small, meaningless motion that held no logical purpose in Zephyr's understanding. He inserted the newly modified tool back into the keyhole. "A lock's like a person," Liam muttered, his voice a low, focused whisper. "It doesn't like to be forced. You just gotta find the spot where it wants to give in." Zephyr's mind word. Give in. A lock is a machine. It does not have wants or desires. It has a programmed function and a series of mechanical requirements. Liam chuckled, a low, warm sound. He didn't answer. His focus was entirely on the lock. He applied a delicate, continuous tension with the paperclip, his fingers acting not on data, but on a kind of intuitive feedback loop that Zephyr couldn't comprehend. He wasn't working with elegance. He was working with imperfection. He was feeling for the minuscule flaws in the lock's design, the tiny moments of friction and give that the laser probes and holographic scanners had overlooked. Then, it happened again. Click. A second tumbler aligned, and then a third. Click, and a fourth, with a speed that defied logic. Click. The sounds began to stack, a rapid-fire succession of clicks that sounded like music to Liam, but like a chaotic, terrifying noise to the aliens. The lock, a fortress of perfect, logical design, was giving way to a crude, chaotic, and utterly illogical method. Zephyr's diagnostic screen became a cascade of aligning tumblers, each one a testament to the human's baffling skill. He watched as his data became irrelevant. The human wasn't solving a puzzle, he was performing an art. He was speaking a language of touch and vibration that his own people, for all their technological brilliance, had never learned. With a final, decisive thunk, the main lock mechanism disengaged. A soft chime echoed through the sterile room, and the indicator light on the door's face switched from a solid, defiant red to a welcoming, victorious green. The lock was open. Liam pulled the bent paperclip from the keyhole, his movements casual, as if he had just done the most normal thing in the world. He straightened up and looked at Zephyr, a simple, knowing smile on his face. The prize inside the room was theirs, but the true prize was the lesson that Zephyr had just received. The silence in the training facility was deafening. The only sound was the soft click of the lock, followed by the silent, collective gasp of a dozen of the galaxy's most brilliant minds. The impossible had just happened. The most advanced security lock in the known quadrant had been defeated by a piece of bent Terran wire. Zephyr floated in place, his holographic diagnostic screens flickering with meaningless data. The schematics were perfect, the tumblers were flawless, the resonance breakers were fully functional, yet the lock was open. He watched as his fellow students converged on the door, their forms shimmering with a mixture of disbelief and intellectual panic. They ran their own scans, projecting new data streams, searching for a flaw in the lock's design or a hidden piece of technology in the human's crude tool. They found nothing. The lock remained, by all logical metrics, a perfect, unbreakable mechanism, but it was open. Liam, meanwhile, was completely unbothered by the intellectual chaos he had just caused. He simply straightened up, slipped the bent paperclip back into his pocket, and pushed open the door. He wasn't a being of perfect grace. His movements were fluid, but slightly clumsy in a way that Zephyr's species had long since evolved beyond. The anticlimactic opening of the door was a perfect counterpoint to the high-stakes tense moments just before. Inside the room, the prize lay waiting on a pedestal. It wasn't a piece of advanced technology or a rare artifact. It was a simple Terran trophy, a small metallic cup with the words "top of class" etched onto it, a testament to the student's mastery of security. To the aliens, it was just a physical object, a symbol of a victory that had been earned not through perfection, but through a baffling, illogical process. Zephyr slowly floated into the room, his form still. He looked at the trophy, and then at Liam. His entire worldview, built on the elegant principles of logical engineering, was shattered. He had been trained to see machines as equations to be solved. The human had shown him that they were something else entirely. How, Zephyr projected, the single word raw with a need for understanding. How did you do that? My diagnostics, my probes, my logic, none of it could achieve what you did with a simple piece of metal. Liam looked at him, his face serious for the first time. You were trying to break the lock, he said, his voice quiet. I was just trying to talk to it. Talk? Zephyr's form rippled with confusion. A lock cannot communicate. It has no voice. Not with words. Liam replied, with feel. Every machine has a voice. You just gotta know how to listen. The tumblers in there, they all had a different personality. Some were stubborn, some were easy, some needed a little coaxing. My tools, your probes, they were both doing the same thing. You were just looking at the data. I was listening to the machine's song. The other students gathered at the doorway, their minds racing. The Terran was speaking in metaphors, in a language of intuition and emotion, that had no place in their rigorous scientific disciplines. He had defeated the perfect lock by acknowledging its imperfections. The room, once filled with the silent telepathic chatter of brilliant minds, was now steeped in a profound, unsettling silence. Liam's words, "You were just looking at the data. I was listening to the machine's song," hung in the air, a truth so illogical it felt like a physical weight on the alien students. They began to murmur their thoughts, no longer of contempt but of deep academic confusion. They tried to apply his philosophy to their own knowledge base. One student, a logimaster from the Salaxian collective, attempted to categorize the concept of a machine's voice into a new theoretical data stream. His mind reeled. The idea simply had no place in his species' understanding of technology. Just then, a new presence entered the chamber. It was their professor, a wise and ancient being known only as the Oracle. His form was a swirling nebula of light, his knowledge a cosmic tapestry of 1,000,000 lifetimes of learning. He had been silently observing the entire test. He did not seem surprised. "Class," the Oracle's voice resonated directly in their minds, a calm, unwavering force. "You have all witnessed a profound lesson. You have spent your lives learning to solve perfect puzzles with perfect solutions. You have mastered the theoretical, the logical, the elegant. But the universe is not perfect. It is messy. It is broken." He gestured with a wisp of light toward Liam, who stood quietly by the open door. "Terrans are a species of improvisation. For centuries, they have fixed their chaotic machines with their hands, their will, and their intuition. Their tools are crude, yes, but their understanding is forged in the fires of necessity, not in the sterile halls of academia. You see a flaw in the design." He sees a place where the machine is trying to talk to him. The students, including Zephyr, looked at Liam with a new, terrifying respect. He was not a fool. He was a walking contradiction, a living example of a different form of genius. The Oracle then proposed a new, final test. "I have a new challenge for all of you. It is a lock from a remote, primitive Terran world. Your goal is to defeat it." He projected a schematic of a simple, old-fashioned Terran padlock, a crude thing of gears and metal pins. The alien students, with their advanced tools and logical minds, prepared to apply their techniques. But they all failed. Their delicate laser probes, designed to bypass complex quantum locks, couldn't find a logical access point in the crude, physical mechanism. Their data streams found no energy signature to exploit. The simple lock, with its jagged edges and clumsy gears, was an incomprehensible puzzle to them. The more they tried to apply logic, the more the simple lock defied them. Finally, the Oracle turned to Liam Terran. "Would you show them?" Liam smiled. He didn't use the paperclip. He pulled out a Terran data chip, no more than a centimeter across, and snapped a small piece from its corner. He casually bent it into a different, simpler shape. The students watched in stunned silence as Liam bent the piece of Terran data chip into a new, simple tool. It was a clear, intentional act of resourcefulness, a direct contradiction to their own rigid, tool-specific training. Liam walked over to the crude Terran padlock, which had resisted the logic of a dozen alien geniuses, and inserted his makeshift tool. He didn't use a laser probe or a sonic pulse. He simply wiggled it, his hands once again performing a delicate, intuitive dance. He was listening to the simple lock, just as he had with the impossibly complex one. The lock's crude gears and metal pins were a world away from the quantum tumblers of the galactic sentry lock. But to Liam, they spoke the same language of imperfection. There was a moment of silence, a tense pause, and then a decisive click. The padlock sprang open with a loud finality that made the alien students jump. Liam looked up, a satisfied smile on his face. He hadn't just defeated the lock. He had demonstrated a universal truth. The principles of working with broken things were not limited by technology or complexity. They were universal. The Oracle, a being of pure light and knowledge, slowly swirled into the center of the room. "The test is concluded," he said, his voice a profound, unwavering hum. "Zephyr, you and your classmates have mastered the science of perfection. You have learned to solve every logical problem, but Terrans, they have mastered the art of imperfection. Your tools are designed to solve elegant puzzles. His tools are designed to solve the chaos of the real world." He turned to the students, his light growing brighter. "A Terran knows that a machine is not just an equation. It is a thing that will rust. It will break. Its parts will wear down. And a true engineer, they have taught us, is a being who can not only design the perfect machine, but can also convince the imperfect one to work. That is their profound, terrifying genius." As the other students began to file out of the room, their minds reeling from the new, illogical knowledge, Liam walked over to Zephyr. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small, bent paperclip he had used to defeat the galactic sentry lock. He held it out. "Here," Liam said. "Keep it." Zephyr's translucent form flickered with confusion. What is this for?" Liam simply smiled. "It's a reminder that sometimes the most elegant solution isn't found in the data. It's found in your hands, and in your heart." Zephyr, a being of pure logic, reached out and took the simple piece of bent wire. It felt heavy in his grasp, a tangible symbol of a lesson that had shattered his worldview. He would return to his homeworld not with a perfect score on his final exam, but with something far more valuable, a newfound respect for the messy, chaotic, and beautiful ingenuity of a species that could defeat the most complex technology with a simple paperclip.